Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. We're here again. It's BJ
and Patrick,
and we're here talking about real estate, and especially as it relates to the island and what's going on in the market here in the greater Victoria area. Today, we thought we would talk about something that's a little bit different, and it's something that I deal in more than Patrick, but we want to talk a little bit about the commercial side of real estate, specifically about businesses and the buying and selling of businesses.
That's really cool. I'm always looking at businesses just to be more knowledgeable.
Sure.
But I haven't had any experience selling or helping anybody buy them.
Right.
I've been in a different part of the commercial sphere. But I've always stayed away from businesses thinking there's a lot to learn. It's its own specialty.
Yeah, for sure. There's certainly a lot more involved in terms of details, and it's different than just what you would do normally with the straight residential purchases. But, you know, it's interesting I think since we've come through COVID now, we saw a lot more interest because I think people are at home, right?
Well, we had a lot of time to think during that time.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interest, just people interested in what's out there for businesses to own my own business or create my own business or, you know, be an entrepreneur or whatever the options are taking that route.
Well, we just went through so much uncertainty. So, you know, what was it? Non-essential work, you know, like all of a sudden you might have been on the CERB. Right. You don't know when you're going back to work. You're waiting.
Right.
You know, I think people want more control over their lives and their way of employment, right?
Yeah.
So that's really interesting that like interest is picked up.
Yeah, and I think the other side of it is, you know, even in the businesses I've listed right now, since the new year, I've seen more interest pick up in finding out about those businesses and what are the options and how can we look into this and how does this work? And, you know, I think part of it too is people coming to the understanding that the whole funding model for a business is from the bank, it's completely different than a residential purchase.
Like a mortgage.
Yeah.
Let's just walk into the bank. Hey, I want to buy a house. I have an accepted offer. Great. Give us a copy. Give us the MLS information.
Right.
You know, all these other things. Okay. What's your income and all that.
Right.
So it's not that easy.
It's a bit different. It's more involved because now you're talking about, okay, what are the numbers of this business in terms of income and expenses and those kind of things? Is there real estate involved? Because a lot of businesses, you get all the assets of the business, but none of that includes real estate.
You know, the land, the building might not be included.
Yeah, you're probably leasing a space.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to take over a lease, but that's not an asset in the bank size.
Of course.
Right? That's a liability. That's an expense. So they want to see how do the numbers look, and they want to see, are you capable of running this business?
Or do they qualify you, like if you were purchasing whatever business it might be, somebody else, they're parting with their business.
Yeah.
If you're knowledgeable about that industry or running a business.
Just the background that they have to have some confidence that they think you can, you know, you can do the job. The background may not be in that specific field, but you have some kind of management background or business background, or let's say, you know, there's going to be a video on one of these about Corbin and his restaurant.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
His you know, when he would have
Ugly Duckling Provisions.
Right. And when he would have gone to his investors at some point, he would have had to have given them. Now he's dealing with investors, not a bank, but he's also got to be able to give them enough confidence in his own ability to see the project through.
Right. They are risking their investment.
Right.
Thinking, well, is this restaurant have a chance to make
Right.
some returns.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, there's that part of it. I know, depending on the situation, the bank may require personal guarantees from the owner of the business.
What does that mean, personal guarantee? Like, oh, I promise, pinky swear.
Yeah.
That's not what that means.
No, it means that if for some reason the business can't, or if it fails, you're still on the hook for whatever money was borrowed to buy that business.
What's on the line?
Whatever the,
Like, whatever you agree.
Yeah,
So it could be your house.
it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, just thinking about one guy who got in the space, and he bought a business, and he basically said, look, I'm putting my house up to do this as security with the bank.
Well, that's putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Right.
Like, you've got the idea, you've got the confidence, and you're willing to put your house on that idea, or a portion of your house, whatever it might be.
Well, you know what? Think about that. That makes me think of Amazon, that started in the garage.
Yeah.
Right. Or another one would be Sylvester Stallone in the first Rocky movie. He mortgaged his house.
Oh, to produce the film.
To make Rocky.
Wow. I know he sold his dog. That was probably anyways. That was a whole.
So, anyway, I say all that. We talk about all of that, but I say that to say we are certainly seeing more interest. I'm seeing more interest in people just wanting to know about how they can get involved in business. And I think, like you said, we saw that coming out of COVID. There's a lot of people that were like, I might want to have a little bit more control of how my life operates. But the other part of it is in terms of what you do business-wise, there's a lot more risk associated with being an entrepreneur.
Doing it yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily get a check every 2 weeks.
No, but like, there's always this misconception of, like, if you have a steady job, you get your paycheck every 2 weeks. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have security, right? Because it's an entrepreneur that's paying your wage, even if they're not receiving one. But then there's the benefit, or the risk benefit ratio.
Sure.
From the entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah.
So the risk is they might be extremely successful, or they could also go
or they
bankrupt,
might not.
Right? They could lose their house or whatever
Sure.
the case may be. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a long way to say it's a whole different animal when we talk about buying and selling businesses. But if you're watching and you say, hey, I'd like to find out a little bit more about that, certainly feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to help and talk to you about options and maybe what are ideas that are out there. But I would say this, and I think a good friend of mine years ago, and she's an entrepreneur, but she said this to me, is she said, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. And so I think that's the other thing for you to understand. It's not for everybody. I know a friend of mine who had a company, and he ended up, taking a regular paying position versus running the company.
That makes sense. Some people are really good at starting companies.
Yeah.
They take it to a certain level, like knowing your natural talent, where do you fit?
Right.
So if you're good at managing, you might be great, maybe not to start a company, but take over from one moving forward, right? Yeah. Where some people's talents are, I have this idea, it's amazing, get it off the ground. I can handle all of the aspects to get it running. Yeah. And then hand it off to like a baton. Yeah. Somebody else in the race that can take it to the next level after that.
Yeah, and in this case too, and this is the reality of owning a business as well. In this case, he just decided he didn't want to carry the pressure of the business. Mm-hmm. Right? He wanted to be more focused on his family and have time with family and that kind of thing. So that's a whole different part. But there's different avenues that work for different people, right? So for some people, they are thriving at and chomping at the bit at the idea of being an entrepreneur. Others, not so much. So, you know,
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing. It's not for everybody, but if you do want to find out more about it, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to help. And thank you for spending time with us today. If you haven't, please take a minute and subscribe to the channel and like the video. It just helps us with growing the channel and what we're doing. And we've got lots of great stuff coming up this year. We're going to do some real neat interactive stuff and creative stuff like we talked about. We're going to have some interviews with some people who've had great success stories, whether it's
new homeowners,
right,
business owners,
business,
so
home,
excited
all those
for
things.
all of
So, you know, keep the keep your ears open for that, and watch. If you've subscribed, you'll be notified every time a video gets posted. And I don't know, what are we doing? A couple of weeks? Is that what?
It's 2 week, but it looks like there's so many in the pipeline right now.
Right.
It might turn to 3 a week.
Okay. Well, excellent. Thank you for your time. If you have questions that you also want us to address that maybe we haven't talked about, we're going to have some special programs where we talk about, you know, financing and mortgages and all those things as well. Certainly reach out to us with that, and we'll be able to address those things as well. But thank you for watching today.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.
See ya.